So I'm going to go over the trades I took today. I'm down $16 on my 50K Top Step. I trade 2 micros right now. But to be down 16, I'm pretty happy with. I'm going to go over some of how I felt during the trades, after the trades, stuff like that, why I took the trades, stuff like that. So I took 2 losses and 1 winner, and I should be up on the day, but we'll get into that. Not going to really go over my daily bias because I have a video of that earlier that I posted pre-market. So going to my first trade, we'll go into market open here, which was, I'm going to put a little ray down here, vertical line at 9:30. So I wasn't taking any trades going into the market. Market open was this line. So market open, we pump up, right? We pump up, and we had these highs up here that I was looking to see maybe get taken up there. So we pump up in the morning. We create. I'm gonna remove this now because that's the imbalance, or the not imbalance, the market open. But we create this 5-minute fair value gap bullish off open. So my first trade was here. I could have, or hold on, we'll get into this. So my first trade was this 5-minute imbalance opens. We trade into it. We create a 1-minute fair value gap to the downside right here. That then we inverse. So I'm just going to save some time, and we inverse this fair value gap right here. As soon as we inverse this fair value gap, I longed, which and then stops were about 10 points right there. I was going to target this high and then this external high from over here. Looking back, I'm not too upset with this trade because we had pump off open. We had SMT down here. We had SMT down here between ES and NQ. So we had SMT, we pumped up off open, we had sweeping these little lows, we took these little lows, so we moved up. We make a 5-minute, we hold the 5-minute, we inverse the 1-minute. Not a bad setup, not a bad setup at all. I would have taken profit this one, then move stops break even. The trade just went against me. We lost 50 there. Not the worst setup ever, but the reason why I think it failed and why I could have been a little bit more patient is, although we had the SMT here, if I look at the higher time frame, I'm going to go to 15-minute. If we look at the 15-minute, pre-market in the daily bias video, I even said I want to see either this high or this low with this 1-hour fair value gap get kind of tapped into or swept before trying to take a trade, because we're just in this kind of range here. And when you're in a range, you typically get really choppy and you kind of get faked out a lot. So even though it was a good setup, we had the 5-minute to 1-minute inversion. It was all right. We took out the lows, SMT. It's still not going to ever be the best possible setup because we're just in a range here. We're just chopping. We haven't taken high. We haven't taken a real low. We haven't really manipulated anything. But not the worst trade. I'm not upset with it. And I was very happy with my emotions because I didn't get too upset. I didn't lose 50, and sometimes I'll lose any trade and I'll just jump in and I'll be like, okay, we lost this trade. Now I'm going to jump short. I didn't do that. I just let the market do its thing. I was like, okay, now I was even more patient. I was like, I want to see this high or this low get taken before I look for anything. We waited. Market did its thing. And at this moment, I'll go back again here. At this moment right here, we came down, took these lows one more time. We didn't take this 1 hour. And this exact setup happened the other day where there's a 1 hour imbalance and it pumped up, faked longs. I got in a long. And then it came down to the 1 hour. So I was like, if I miss a move and it comes takes these highs, that's all right. It wasn't that quality of a setup. But then when we fail to take this high and we put in this low, and then we fail to take this low, we pump back up. We fail again to take this high. So now we're making lower highs every time. So now I'm really expecting, because I've seen this happen way too much, this all to just become low resistance liquidity and just get ran later on. So not like a trend line, like I'm trading trend lines, but I really just expected these highs to all just become targets later after we take this low. So now I'm really waiting for this low to get taken. We keep failing to take highs. We then tap into the 1 hour, but I want to see some sort of reason to then go long because I'm expecting all these highs to be taken. So we get in here, and I like to sometimes see a little bit more of the fair value gap, maybe even see this low get taken one last time and then get a move up. So now I'm looking at possible reasons for longs. My first thing was this 3-minute fair value gap. I wanted to see, did we reject it to go take lows again and then push up, or do we close above it and create inverse? So that's what we end up doing, is we create an inverse fair value gap right here. So we run through this 3-minute imbalance. So now I'm like, okay, we might be long bias. Let me find an entry on the long side. We create all these types of imbalances, and I was gonna try and long this fair value gap. Doesn't come down to it. And then we get this big push up. So now we've taken out this first high. It's like a fair value gap. We took out the real lows. We started to get real displacement. So now I'm really bullish. I want to take a trade. We get this 2-minute fair value gap, and this is where I enter my second trade, where I lose again. My second trade, I enter off this tap here, stops here, and I wanted to see something like this. So I wanted to see it come in here, respect the 2-minute, maybe push up, take out this high here, and then take out this external high, and take out the higher high. So I wanted to see this happen, and I'll see that happen a lot. You'll see a fair value gap get respected, push up, displacement, tap the first imbalance, and run. So although this wasn't a horrible trade, you'll then see this fair value gap, 2-minute bullish. You'll see that this trade ends up tapping me in and instantly stopped me out. So although this wasn't the worst entry ever, I think it's just a little bit too much of a chase. And in hindsight, I should be accepting the fact that if it does hold this fair value gap and pump, I just missed the trade. It wasn't a very clean entry. You're not even close to discount of the move up until you get stopped out. So it's just not a great trade, even though the idea is not bad. We then end up forming this 5-minute fair value gap to the upside that I then I'm now down $100 on the day. So now, but this trade still looks good. I still like the setup, and I didn't increase my size, so I stayed to my two micros, which I'm happy about. But once I saw this reaction back up to the upside, I got in long here again, because now it's even better setup. You have better risk. Put my stop here, about 13 points. And then I was targeting this high, and my first take profit would have been this high. So it would have been 27 points and 40 points. And the reason why I'm not too upset about taking my third trade when I try and stick to 2 is because it was a good trade setup. I wasn't increasing size, so I wasn't spiraling, and it still was a solid setup. It wasn't invalidated yet. There was all kinds of inverses. So there was this 3-minute inverse that we came down and tapped. So I'll mark that out. This 3-minute we came down to, respected. This inverse, we respected a 2-minute fair value gap right here. And then we started moving higher. So I was still like looking at this trade and knowing that it was a pretty high confidence trade. And I was okay with my same risk, 2 contracts. If I get stopped out, I get stopped out. If I get profits, I get profits. So my first target was up here. Price ends up moving pretty effectively up. I was really happy with that here. I was thinking about scaling here, but I was like, you know what? This shouldn't be a point of scaling. It should really be this high if this move works. But then we come up really close to getting my profit and then start stalling. And that's when I end up ripping my contracts out at about 61. So I end up taking my contracts all off here, only getting about 20 points, and it brought me close to break even, down 16 on the day. So looking back, it was just an emotional exit because I didn't want to lose more on the day. The trade setup was great. The risk was great. But if I would have just held for this target and this target, or even maybe this further target, it would have worked perfectly. So we'll see how this plays out. Price stalls a little bit more, takes the first target, and then runs the second target. So my stop would have been a break even after the first one. And it would have been a very, very nice trade. We've been up on the day instead of losing. But that's just some of the psychology I have to work on, is exiting trades early after losing already. If I hadn't taken a loss yet and I took this as my first entry, then I'd probably move my stop to break even when we take this high. And I would have been able to hold to these levels and been up 160. So not upset with the trade I took, but kind of disappointed in my execution. But overall, a very, very, very good trade. And I'm happy with the day. Even though I lost, I'm happy that I didn't spiral and I didn't increase size. And then I found a great trade. So that kind of shows you that if you just wait for your setup and you don't spiral and you keep good risk, you'll find a great trade setup. And look, it just keeps running. It could even held to this external high. But that's kind of hindsight, you know. So I'm very happy with the day. Even though we lost, and just gonna keep trying to keep getting better. So it was a good day. Saw the market pretty well. Happy to keep building momentum on a losing day. So that's all I got.